Hey everyone, welcome to the Spodcast. Sorry, it's a few seconds late, but having a few technical issues, and hopefully we're going to be able to hear John in 2 seconds. So let's see if this works. Hey John,
Hey,
keep talking.
hello there.
There we
Now
go.
the
Yep.
catchphrase
So
is going to come over.
yeah. So how's it going anyway? It's been a while since we've done a Spodcast.
I'm good, yourself?
Yeah, just trying to solve all these technical issues. Hopefully, everything is running fine. Really excited to be talking about the topic for today. And we're going to be taking a look at Marvel. We're going to be looking at the past, we're going to be looking at the present, and we are going to be looking at the future. And we're going to look at what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what we are looking forward to. Now, of course, we are live via Twitch and we are live via YouTube, and I can see all of your comments in the chat. So please, if you want to get involved and you want us to discuss some of your ideas, what things you want to say, please let us know in the chat and we will discuss them. But to start out, I think we just need to mention this, the Infinity Saga. I don't know if John can see the images I'm putting on screen, but we've got to start here at the Infinity Saga. This is what kind of broke off and let us have all of these TV shows, movies, and games. And without this saga, we wouldn't be where we are currently at with Marvel. Just as a very kind of quick discussion point, John, what did you think of the Infinity Saga as a whole? Did it work for you? Did you enjoy it?
There was some films that obviously stood out more than others. There were some films that were maybe overhyped than they actually were, and there was some films that just didn't transpire. But there was a lot of positives, of course. I mean, it's the first successful universe that we've seen on a big screen TV. Big screen. Sorry, I don't know why I said TV then. Big screen there. So you've got to applaud them for that, really. To be honest with you, there's not really many other comic verse or fantasy verse out there that have a wider expanding universe such as the Marvel universe.
Yeah, sorry, I was just sorting out some technical things. But for me, the Infinity Saga is great. I love it. Obviously, as you've said, there's a few hit and misses. I think probably the Thors were the weakest, other than Ragnarok. The first Thor, loved, wasn't a fan of the second one. But yeah, I think overall it really had an impact, especially at the end when they started bringing a lot of the characters together for Endgame and Infinity War. It really made a huge difference. But what Marvel probably had problems with was expanding the universe, and that's where they started to create TV shows from that kind of universe. Some were linked, some weren't linked, and one of the main ones, and I don't know if you watched this show, John, and remember, we are going to talk about some of the future movies for Phase 4 and previous movies and games as well. But I just want to start off on TV. And one of the main shows that started to really show off this expanded universe, even though it went off in another direction, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, I absolutely adored it. I liked it at the very start when most people didn't, and it had those little kind of cheeky, oh, Thor Dark World has just happened, we're picking up the rubbish from Thor Dark World, look, we're part of the MCU, please acknowledge us as a TV show. But I think where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really kind of excelled is when they ignored the MCU. The first season was tying so hard to the movies, and I think it really picked up its pace from Captain America the Winter Soldier, where Hydra was revealed. But then from that point onwards, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went off in its own direction, and I think from that point, it found its feet. It was actually an enjoyable show, and it didn't rely on the films. I don't know if you ever watched it, John.
I watched it very briefly. I couldn't get into it. That I felt the storyline for me wasn't appealing enough to keep gripped. But something I will say about like the TV shows and as the Marvel as a whole, sort of the running trend they do is I've noticed they'll take previous films or previous products they've offered like in the MCU and they'll mention it in a different film or a different series, which again links back. And in a way, if that film or show didn't produce something that we would class as one of the top Marvel films, one of the top sort of standard films there, it would almost put it in good light. Like, for example, um, Age of Ultron is a very controversial one that many people hit and miss with. However, with regards to that, they then took, for example, elements of Age of Ultron in terms of Tony's vision, various lines that were said, and the cat hammer sort of thing. And then they put that in, obviously, in Endgame and Infinity War, and it kind of blended together and put a good light in that. And I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did that very much with regards to certain of the Marvel products, because I still think Winter Soldier is one of the best MCU films out there, but it's so underrated. But however, they implemented that in the Age of Shield, and I think it elevated that product there. So you've got to hand it to them in some ways. The creative writing that tries to link these up, I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I adored it, as I've said, and it definitely kind of went its own direction in the final season because it completely ignored the fact that the snap happened, even though technically it was happening during the snap. But that was probably one of the most successful Marvel-related shows. Now, we have to talk about some of the ones that didn't really achieve, but we'll have to talk about a certain 4 Netflix Marvel shows, and that is Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. We had 2 that I think were really successful, 1 that did all right, and 1 which was just absolutely terrible, which was Iron Fist. So you've got Daredevil and Jessica Jones, which I think were the 2 most popular. You had Luke Cage, who was good, but I don't think it got some of the recognition it deserved. And Iron Fist just got absolutely slated by everyone, and they weren't that enjoyable. But they were linked to the MCU. Again, they did little references to them. But other than that, to say, oh, look, we're a Marvel show, it had no relevance to the MCU whatsoever. And I don't know if that led to its failure or whether it was needed to be done. What were your thoughts on the Marvel Netflix shows? I know you are a big Daredevil fan, at least.
Yeah. I think so. Daredevil season 1 was very much. Is it part of the MCU? Isn't it? Because there's references. There was like a newspaper article about New York. They even mentioned New York. The attack on New York sort of thing. So there was very much like indications towards it was part of the MCU. However, sort of straying away from it, Daredevil didn't really need that. I think I'm massively Daredevil fan. I really enjoyed the series. Season 3 was mind blowing. Because it didn't just feel like a superhero genre. So the writers got really behind that. I'm really sad that obviously it didn't carry on. We know the agreement between Netflix and Marvel obviously didn't work out. But I really enjoyed Daredevil. I really enjoyed Luke Cage season 1. Season 2, not so much. But again, season 1, I very much enjoyed it. Jessica Jones, season 1 again, really good. The latter seasons, not so much. Iron Fist, womp. But I really enjoyed Punisher as well. That's one we haven't mentioned.
Yes, Punisher. I forgot about Punisher, yeah. I just kind of used the Defender as a reference point, but we did have the Punisher. And again, doesn't that just kind of say a lot if I forgot the Punisher even existed?
I think the Punisher, season 1 was really good. Season 2, again, I think that was the problem. I think the only one show that was so consistent throughout its seasons that got better and better and better was Daredevil. Like, they knew that product would work. It had such a great launch, and they excelled on it. And I mean, it was the basis of Defenders. I know, obviously, Iron Fist was somewhat, a strong emphasis on the story driven, but it came back to Daredevil as the driven point there. I must admit the Defenders made Iron Fist seem more enjoyable as a character, where its series didn't. But I think the Defenders created its own universe. Almost, it felt like, was an incredible sort of. The compliments go to the writers, and I think they did a really good job there.
I really enjoyed the Defenders, and now that Netflix have lost the rights, these characters could return. I think most people want to see Luke, Jessica, and Matt Murdock return. And talking about returns, and we will talk about this film a bit more, but people are speculating that we have seen Matt Murdock in some form in the Spider-Man film. Do you think we are going to see the return of Matt Murdock? I would love to see, even if it's just a cameo and it is just him in the film for 5 minutes, not as Daredevil, but just as Matt Murdock, to establish he is part of the MCU. I would absolutely adore that. I really would.
I would love to see Charlie Cox return. I think he did a fantastic job. I'm not... I neither here nor there for the rest of them, but however, Charlie Cox, Daredevil, is such an important character in Marvel Comics, especially in Peter's life. There's obviously a pivotal moment in comic books where obviously Peter's identity is exposed and Daredevil sticks up for him and sort of, acts as lawyer, but also then puts the Spider-Man costume on and pretends to be Spider-Man. I don't think we'll get that necessary element, but I'd love 5 minutes of him just discussing. But did I see him in the trailer? No, I don't think we did. I think people just saw a hairy arm and a white shirt and they just assumed that was Daredevil, and it was like, nah, I think that's too... I think Marvel are going to play this one close to their chest. They're going to reveal what you already know, but not reveal what you think you know.
I don't know. I'm holding out hope for Matt Murdock in the Spider-Man film. I'm a Spider-Man fanboy. I've just realised I'm wearing... You can't see this, John, but I'm wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt right now as well. But
I can see it. I can just see a delay on the video. I've got it on YouTube.
Yeah. But we need to talk about some misses. I think the Defenders was a hit and a miss. Probably more hit than miss. But something which was absolutely terrible and was a complete and utter miss. And they are ignoring the fact it actually existed now. Because they are pretty much going to retell the Inhumans story via Secret Wars. And that is going to be the Inhumans TV show, which wasn't great. Did you actually see any episodes of it? I only watched the first 2, and yeah, it wasn't good.
I got through the first 2 as well. However, there was only one act that really stood out for me. The rest was just, it could have been the script. But I really like the guy he's the bad guy in Game of Thrones as well. I can't remember his name now.
Ewan, what's his face? Yeah. I know who you mean. Is it Ewan Thomas or something like that?
I believe so, yeah. He was also in The In-Betweeners, yeah. But I really liked his acting. The rest, neither here nor there.
Yeah, and it was a shame. Next show that I want to bring up, that was kind of in the moderately... Didn't really meet fans. God, my belly's rumbling. You think I just ate. Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways, which again were linked to the MCU, but because they were on Hulu and I want to say Star in America, UK based, they didn't really meet the audience that they were expecting. They were really good shows. I absolutely loved Runaways, really enjoyed the first 2 seasons. I thought they were great. And again, it was a show that just didn't really meet its potential. Introduced us to a lot of characters a lot of people who don't read comics may not know. But did you manage to watch any of them?
I didn't really get into Runaways very much, but I do like Cloak and Dagger. As characters, they cross over with Spider-Man quite a lot in the comics and in various other mediums. And I would have liked to have seen Cloak and Dagger, or potentially in the future, cross over with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because I think their age set, their mindset and abilities would probably work quite well in a good dynamic. However, will it happen? Probably not now, because obviously not very much success there. But I think problem is Marvel don't get behind its product on everything. I think they do on a lot, and you'll see the passion from it. And in others, they just see what happens and take it as it comes, really.
And I think because now they have a distinct, we are doing TV shows direction, those were kind of offsets where they didn't have much say, and I think that's where they kind of failed. And the one that I was surprised failed, because I thought it was directly linked into it, was Agent Carter. And I think a lot of this could be down to the American channel that was on, which was ABC. Agent Carter just did not get love, it did not get the time, and it did not get advertised, even though I thought the first season was absolutely brilliant. The second season was weak, and it just didn't get the love that it deserved. But I really enjoyed it, and you can actually watch Agent Carter on Disney Plus as well. They've actually been promoting that a bit more, probably because of What If. But I really enjoyed the first season of Agent Carter. It was kind of like a hit, then it went to a miss.
For me, I really enjoyed it as well. It's a shame it didn't keep going because I think out of some of the Marvel series that they've produced, it was one of the strongest. It was also a nice female-led series that put, strong, independent sort of woman in the spotlight. It gave her an opportunity to prove that, she was in an agency filled with men, that she was probably their superior in many ways in capability and her experiences, but also dealing with the trauma of losing Steve as well, and seeing Anthony Stark in a different light. There's so many contrasting characters and contrasting stories. I think they really missed something there, and you never know. They might pick it up again. Now it's on Disney Plus. I think they missed the point with it.
And that's kind of the past of Marvel TV, and I've got to say it's when you compare it to what we're just about to talk to, I'd say that because they weren't unified, they all weren't linked together, I think that's where a lot of the shows failed, because people be going into it and saying, how does this link into the movies that I've just watched? Oh, it doesn't link into the movies. Oh, because then you don't have that, is this character going to appear? Is this character going to appear? They use the movies to get people to watch the shows, but the shows weren't linked to the movies, which I think led to their downfall. Which kind of leads us now to present day. And the very first ever Marvel Universe TV show, and I think it's safe to say it's the first official Marvel Universe, even though Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was linked to it. This is the official Phase 4 Marvel TV show, and I absolutely loved it. It was WandaVision, and I just think the cast was extraordinary. Elizabeth Olsen was just mind-blowing. Catherine Hahn is Agatha, brilliant. Paul Bettany, I think, was underused, but I thought WandaVision was a breath of fresh air. I think it was amazing what they did. It was basically a movie split across multiple episodes, and it was just zany, it was fun, it was different. What were your thoughts on, even though we've done podcasts in the past, and if you want more detail, but what do you think about WandaVision? Was this a new beginning for Marvel for TV shows?
It was, for me, yes, because we're used to the big CGI blow-up thing, there's a catastrophe, everybody's on it, bum, 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 bum. But this was nice because it added a psychological element that you had to try and work out at the beginning. However, the theories got more and more wild towards the end by fans that actually, as we know, as we've discussed before, the finale may have not met expectations so much because of these theories, and it was quite damaging to a degree. But I really enjoyed it. I think the first 3 or 4 episodes were fantastic, and the whole, like, say, Elizabeth Olsen dealing with multiple emotions and Paul Bettany underused. But I think Paul Bettany being underused, I think it was more led to a focus on Scarlet Witch's sort of personality disorder sort of thing, or psychology breakdown. So yeah, I think it was fantastic, and of course Agatha came out, she was the big shining moment of it all, really. Especially in the finale, I think she stood out as a character. She was neither evil nor good, but then again, looking from the perspective of the series, neither was Scarlet. I was about to say Scarlett Johansson then, Scarlet Witch either. Which,
See, I didn't see Agatha. I'm going to end up discussing this, but I don't think Agatha was the bad guy. She was in the grey area. No. She saw that she'd been brought up to realise the Scarlet Witch would end the world using chaos magic. She found Scarlet Witch controlling people and released them, and she was trying to stop her. So technically, she wasn't actually the bad guy. We just wanted Scarlet Witch to be the good guy. But that is a discussion for some other time. But for me, for that first show, I think, yes, I think a lot of people got their expectations too high, which then kind of leads to the next show, which I think let a lot of people down. Personally, I think it had some great moments, I really do, but as a whole, and John will probably agree with me here, they tried to do too much in too short a time. I think they did 2-3 seasons worth of story in one season. But yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier was a bit of a letdown for me, I've got to say.
writing wise, I think because you're taking on the Captain America legacy in a way. This, let's face it, this was a Captain America sub story between the situations that have happened previously before and what we're going to have next. It is a Captain America filler sort of thing. I think the problem is like you say, they rushed it. There's so much more they could have done to flesh the characters out. Had a Bucky series, had a Falcon series, then had the Bucky and Falcon series, and then boom, we get the end product. However, because of whatever, it could be due to the rewrite, it could be due to obviously the pandemic situation. What we got was, for me personally, and I think a lot of people don't want to admit, but they have to admit to a degree, it didn't meet the level of standard we were expecting, considering the launch of WandaVision was such a highly popular and fast-growing sort of liked show. That they just didn't hit the bar, and I think it did a disservice to characters like Anthony Mackie's Falcon. Not so much Sebastian Stan's Bucky, but I was hoping more from Falcon, and there were just so many obvious flaws in the story that it became too much to focus on, and I think that they need to review that going forward, of course.
Yeah, I totally agree. But obviously there will hopefully be another season of that. We've just had official confirmation that Anthony Mackie will be returning as Captain America in a movie. So whether the series continues, we don't know. And finally, the not current, but just off-current TV show, which I think is the best of the three, is Loki, which kind of met expectations and just kind of blew our minds on the impact it had on the Marvel multiverse. And yeah, I think Loki is probably the best of the three, just beating WandaVision for me, but Loki has been exceptional in meeting expectations and its general impact, and personally I think that one has to be a definite tick as a hit.
Yeah, I think the thing with what made Loki such a huge success, not so much, well, multiple reasons really. Tom Hiddleston, massively loved actor, massively loved character Loki is. Everybody loves Loki, let's be frank. Um, I think the thing is it got the equal blend of the two shows predecessing it. So like WandaVision, its deep psychological and emotional tie with the audience. You felt for Loki's pain, you felt for his anger, you felt for his frustration, you felt for him and sympathized for him. This guy was coming back from being the big bad guy of New York City to this guy, and you got to see what was really going off in his mind. Because obviously, when we go from New York City, the Battle of New York, to Thor: Dark World, you don't really know. However, this bit fills it in, and I think in some ways it kind of redeemed Dark World, especially Loki's side, when you see the video played and the guilt of things to do with his mother. I think that was one of its massively redeeming qualities, but also the action sequences, the connection between Loki and the characters they interact with, and let's just hands down, Sylvie was an incredible character to introduce a new character to the audience to go down that well. I think bravo. I have to give it to them.
Oh, I absolutely adore Sylvie. I think she's the best thing in it. I want to see more of her, which hopefully they will, and I think they'd be crazy not to. But there is going to be a Loki Season 2. That has definitely 100% been confirmed. So that'd be interesting to see where that falls in the MCU timeline. Now, talking about timelines and impact, we've got to talk about the show that is currently on, and how this links into the movies we do not know, but we have to talk about What If, which is a direct link to Loki and this multiverse and how everything is shooting off into different directions and what would happen. What have you thought about What If so far? We're up to episode 3. We've just had Captain Carter. We have had T'Challa as Star-Lord. And my mind has went totally blank on the second one for some reason. Oh, no, sorry. The second one was T'Challa as Star-Lord, and the third one was the Avengers Murder Mystery. I don't want to say too much about spoiling it.
We'll really name the channel or one thing that SpoilerTV. For me, the first one was enjoyable to a degree, but I was a little let down. I was expecting more. I was expecting a fresher story. When you chuck Captain Carter into the situation, I wasn't hoping for like a carbon copy of First Avenger minus maybe a couple of changes. I was hoping for something completely new, completely revolutionary, completely like massively. Yeah, this is actually really cool. It was too short, way too short, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's potential for more in the future. With that animated style, I can see What If continuing as well. I think that's went down very, very popular, and with it being animated, I think it's actually reaching other audiences that people weren't expecting. So I think parents, when they see it's animated, go, "Oh, actually, it's a cartoon. Yes, you can go watch it." Even though I think this latest episode was quite violent, and I think the zombie one that's coming up is going to be a bit nightmare-inducing as well. But that'll be very, very interesting. So we have talked a lot of TV, so I just want to quickly kind of go through and talk about the future of TV. And next up we have, and I want to say it's end of November, December, we have the Hawkeye TV show, which I think is going to be the Hawkeye swan song. He's retired again, but is training Haley Steinfeld's character Kate Bishop into becoming the next Hawkeye. And I have to say, this has to be Hawkeye's kind of exit from the Avengers. It must be. But do you think it's going to be a good show?
Yeah, I mean, just obviously touch back, like, what ifs, the last two have been really good. So, going forward, the writing obviously is there. So for this show, I think you're right. I think it's going to be, it's about new adventures now, about new characters, and obviously the young Avengers maybe perhaps teased. Yeah, Jeremy Renner's getting to the age now where I think he's going to have to step away. And I really like the idea of the concept of this, because it's going to be a very grounded TV show. We've got Mystic and Magic, two of the three shows there. Whereas this is going to be very much tied in, obviously, to another movie, which I'm sure we'll mention soon. But also, it's going to be seeing a new character in a new light after we followed this other character that's part of it, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. For the last 10 years. So it'll be a nice goodbye as well. Maybe potentially an emotional one. Who knows? But we'll see. I mean, I joke around and call it the knockoff at Green Arrow, but I'm genuinely excited, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, just to kind of go through the running order, in case people aren't aware of the Phase 4, we have Miss Marvel coming up after Hawkeye, which I believe is going to be at the start of 2022. People are rumoured to be saying they might see it in December of this year, but I find it highly unlikely with the way filming's just been recently that it'll be out in time. And there has been discussion that her powers are going to be slightly different compared to her comic book character. Instead of her stretching, she's going to use some sort of magic or power in order to do something similar, which will be interesting. And I think that might be down to graphical constraints and it looking real with having her stretch, or maybe they just want to keep the stretching for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you want to distinguish between the two characters there. In the comics, it's easy because you've got a vast universe there that they can cover where there is similarities between characters, of course. But I think for a movie series and movie cinematic universe, you have to make it simple for the audience to be able to perceive that these two characters are different. Or otherwise, if there's a big massive crossover, it's like, well, why you've got two characters the same?
And next up after Miss Marvel, which we don't have much information on, other than that they've just been doing some pre-production, and I think they've just literally started filming, which is Moon Knight, which will be the next TV show after Miss Marvel. That's currently in development with Poe Dameron, well, from Star Wars. I don't want to call him by his real name because Poe Dameron's just so much cooler. Or if you want to say Oscar Isaacs, you can, but it's Poe Dameron, all right? It's from Star Wars. He's starring in it. We then have She-Hulk, which has, and I apologise, I've totally forgot her name, but it has the girl from, what's it called? The TV show where she has multiple clones of herself. It's just totally went out my mind, and I just had it in my brain. But yeah, totally forgot who's starring in that, but she's a damn good actress. And then we have, which I think is going to overwrite the previous Inhumans, which is going to be Secret Invasion, where there are rumours that Chloe Bennett will return as Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., she was signed up to do the Powerpuff Girls live action, but she has now dropped out of that. I've got a funny feeling she's been poached to do this instead of the Powerpuff Girls, and it must have been that the pilot wasn't good enough, and she had in her contract she could drop out if the pilot wasn't good enough, and Marvel have hit her up. That's my personal opinion anyway. Do you think that's going to happen, John?
Yeah. I mean, Marvel is money making, and anyone in their acting career now is they realise if there's a potential to star in a superhero film these days, there's the opportunities there, and especially Disney's vast growing franchise. If you make it popular and you get a great audience reception on the big screen with Marvel, they will use you again. It's simple as look at Tom Hiddleston's Loki. You didn't think, if you look back all those years ago when he first started Thor, did you think he would return again? Would he consistently be reused? No one predicted that. No one could even see that coming. So, if she can make it on the big screen there, she's going to have a long-running career in this big expanding universe. I'm really excited for the productions, that's coming up, these series that are coming up.
Yeah, and we've still got 2 more TV series to talk about, believe it or not. We have Ironheart, which will also be coming out in the next year and a half or so. And then we have Armor Wars coming out as well. There is a total of 7 TV shows lined up over the next 2 years for Marvel. That is absolutely mind-blowing. And absolutely crazy. But then that leads us to movies. And we have a new movie coming out this week. And I've already booked my IMAX tickets for Friday. It is Shang-Chi and the 10... Is it The Legend of the Ten Rings, or is it just And the Ten Rings? I think it's The Legend of the Ten Rings.
10 Rings.
Yeah. So Shang-Chi is out this Friday, at least here in the UK. And it has had nothing but mad reviews on how good it is, and the action sequences, and it's a great introduction to the character. Will you be seeing this at the cinema, John? This is going to be my first cinema trip in a year and a half, so I'm excited to see this, especially in IMAX.
It'll be my second one for the year. It'll be my second one in nearly 2 years, to be honest with you. I'm kind of excited. I'm going with an open mind perspective. I'm not setting any sort of perspective really. The only thing it does me is the Ten Rings part because of the Mandarin, following the comics. Yeah, we'll see what direction it goes. I'm going to watch it.
They are going to explain the Mandarin from Iron Man 3 as well, supposedly within this. I won't say any more than that, but that will be kind of sorted out, as it were. Obviously, Wong is going to be in this as well. And people are saying that the one we see in the trailer as he's leaving, he is going to be part of this. So that means that Spider-Man and Shang-Chi are happening at the same time, roughly, which is interesting. And I wonder if they've got this timeline together. And it'd be interesting also to see, and this is the next film I want to mention, and Cinnamon in the chat is saying that they really want to see this as well, and is Eternals. Now, I wasn't too excited about this. Eternals is my Guardians of the Galaxy. When I first heard of Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going to happen. But I absolutely loved Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'm hoping I'm going to have the same on Eternals. And I'm starting to think that maybe Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Loki, WandaVision are all happening at the same time, and that's the kind of impact that this multiverse and all of this magic is happening. What are your thoughts on that idea, John? And especially on Eternals as well.
I know that apparently Loki and WandaVision are all happening on the same day, or day, because there's been some people found it out on Reddit and stuff. Eternals potentially, yeah. I mean, because why are they active now? There's obviously something that's triggered them, so maybe they're acting at the same time because of this trigger, not necessarily directly to it, but as a sort of lead cause. But yeah, Eternals, I saw the trailer. I like the look of it. Again, it's like you say, Guardians of the Galaxy, it's sort of similar principle with me. I knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy was in the comics. They never appealed to me. But yeah, they were a pretty good trump card from Disney, to be honest with you, and Marvel.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they move forward with the Eternals as well, whether it's going to be a one off or there's potential for more in the future. But we have to talk about the final film of this year before we talk about the ones coming up. And it is the most watched trailer ever in 24 hours, even with it being leaked. It is the most watched, and it is, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home. And Cinnamon's saying, holy moly, those suits in John's background. You've got a fan of your cosplays there, John. But what did you think of the Spider-Man trailer? What do you think of the theories that Doctor Strange is not Doctor Strange? I personally think it is Doctor Strange. He's just depressed, probably, and feels responsible for Tony Stark's death. But, yeah, what did you think of the trailer?
I think, so for me, a lot of theories coming out. Mephisto's come up again. I think people are drawing too much to a Brand New Day series where obviously Batman makes the wish to Mephisto and reverses everything that happened of Civil War. I think people need to take away from that. Some of the comics will inspire these stories, however, not directly. It's going to be interesting. A lot of actors returning to the franchise that I'm excited for. I do agree with on the Doctor Strange thing. I do think there's going to be a part and parcel of feeling guilty for removing not necessarily just Tony Stark, but the father figure to Peter Parker, having made the joke, what is he, your protege? Realizing they had a close relationship there, so maybe he feels part of the responsibility he's supposed to fill that gap, and maybe that's the relationship they go forward with. But I'm really excited because Alfred Molina's back. He was a fantastic actor. I'm not a big fan of Tobey Maguire, however, Alfred Molina just stole the show when he was in Spider-Man 2. I'm really excited for him. William Dafoe again, really haunting laugh, and the various other cameos that have been confirmed as well.
Now, I'm in the club of we are not going to see Tobey and Andrew Garfield in this film at all. I don't want to. I don't want it to be look, they're here for 5-10 minutes. Please make me wrong and have them in most of the film. But the storyline is floating around online on what's happening, and this has been out for about a month or so, and from the trailer, everything kind of matches up. However, there is discussion, and this is where I think it's probably come from, is people have seen that leaked trailer months and months ago before it got leaked to us, the public, and they've pieced together the trailer to try and make up a story from what they know from the comics, and that's what they've tried to do. Do I think Andrew and Tobey in it? I don't think they are. Could they open the door for them to be in it in future films? Yes.
I think we will get a version of them potentially into the Spider-Verse too, because there was talks we're going to have all three of them in as a sort of cameo. Would I have them as voice actors and animated? Yeah, to a degree, yeah. I'd like to see more of Andrew Garfield, especially. I really like Garfield Spider-Man. The right and the second one, not the greatest, but Garfield as an actor was fantastic. I think we're more likely to see him into the Spider-Verse because of the aging process will be easier in an animated universe than it will be in this series, particularly.
Do you know what I'd like to see happen? And to totally pull it from left field? I want to see a live action Spider-Gwen appear at the end of this. That would be amazing. No. I don't think Emma Stone is young enough now in comparison, because obviously Spider-Gwen has to be the same age as Peter Parker. So personally, I don't want Emma Stone. I love Emma Stone, don't get me wrong. I loved her. But I think we need a new Spider-Gwen, and then she can also link into the Young Avengers and have her appear at the end. And I think that would be a mind-blowing reveal at the end. And I'm going to put a bit of money on it, saying they will reveal Gwen Stacy in some form at the end of the film. That is my prediction.
I'd like to see a Gwen Stacy, but I don't think a mature Gwen Stacy, me personally, would be a bad thing. Because of course it'll be another guy. You know, Peter, this particular version of Peter is always looking for a mentor. It feels like he looks for mentors. He's still of that young impressionable age. I think a more older Gwen, like removing the romantic side of things, because Spider-Gwen isn't romantically involved with Peter, from my understanding. I think wouldn't be a bad thing with Emma Stone, but I'd love to see Karen Gillan play Gwen. I think she'd be great. Unfortunately, she's Nebula, so...
Yeah, the voices would be too similar. But we'll move on because I'm getting aware of the time, so we still have a lot to cover. Talking about future films for Marvel, straight after Spider-Man, and it links into WandaVision and Spider-Man and Loki, and is rumoured to be back in either this or Thor. It is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'd love to see Loki appear in this in some way and see how it links into Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man is probably going to leave a bit of a cliffhanger leading into this. We then have Thor, Love and Thunder, coming up after that as well. We then have, and there's not much details about this right now, and they're probably not releasing too much. I think they might be waiting a bit until some of the other films come out. But is Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and what they'll obviously be doing with Black Panther as a character for the late Chadwick Boseman. It's been 1 year since his death as well. We then have, which links into the Miss Marvel TV show, it links into WandaVision, and obviously it links into Endgame, which is The Marvels, where we'll have the 3 Marvel characters. We then have Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which then links into Loki and the impact of the multiverse, because we will have, and I want to say Kang the Conqueror, I am saying that right, there's just so many names I forget, that will link into Loki. It'll be interesting to see if what happens in this will then link into Loki Season 2, which is my thoughts. We then have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that is part of Phase 4, and that will probably link into Thor, Love and Thunder. And then to finish off Phase 4, we will have the Fantastic Four. And into Phase 5, though, that's when we will see Logical Robot saying, just give us a new Blade with Snipes' cameo. I don't think Snipes would make a cameo, because he wanted to play Blade and continue. I don't think he would make an appearance. What would be really cool, actually, is seeing Wesley Snipes play a version of Whistler, maybe? Obviously change his appearance slightly, but I think Snipes is a Whistler, kind of handing the torch over the Blade. You never know. But that would be Phase 5. Now, will we get an Avengers film between Phase 4 and Phase 5? I think so, yes. But they aren't going to tell us that. Probably not until at least September time, because D23 is coming up in September. And last D23, they revealed... Was it D23, the Disney Expo, that revealed all of these titles? Yeah, so that is coming up in September. I think we will start to get a lot more information about Thor, Wakanda, Marvels, Quantumania. We will have a special podcast for those announcements. It's not live streamed. If it's live streamed, I think we should do a reaction podcast. We watch it live. That would be pretty cool to do. But that would be the future of the films. I think we're going to get some Fantastic Four cast announcements at D23, because that's the only one they've revealed and not gave us more information. What do you think?
I think so, yeah. There's another adding bit I would also think. I don't think they're going to do an Avengers film. I think they're going to do a Avengers level sort of like event like they do with Endgame, Infinity War. But I don't think it'll be Avengers as such. I don't think it'll be specified for that. I think this is where we're going to introduce more and more characters from other teams.
Do you not think they'll just call Avengers the New Avengers as a title? Just to kind of hook people in? Because when you put the word Avengers in a film title, it gets bums on seats.
I'm thinking it's going to become it's going to be Marvel's Secret War. But that's what, because I think that's what they're going to lean towards. Is more this multiversal, universal threats that require multiple things. I think if you slap Marvel in front of anything and it's marketed correctly, I think it gets bums on seats regardless. I think the Avengers had all that hype because you've seen all these characters come together, and those particular characters are what made the Avengers, which is why people went to watch it. But because we don't have the old characters as such now, you almost need a new branding of it. And I think going forward, regardless of what you put in the title, I think Marvel will be enough appealance.
It'll be interesting. I think we will get more information and confirmation on dates for D23. Like I said, we'll probably record a podcast either if it's live streamed or I think it was live streamed last time. I could swear people were watching it live. If not, we'll definitely be doing a podcast straight after that. But that rounds up the movie section of our Marvel special, which leads us on to the games. Now, I don't want to go into the past of games too much because there are a lot of Marvel games, but I do want to talk about one of the most recent past games that I think was probably one of the best Marvel released games ever, and that was the Insomniac Games Spider-Man. And obviously its latest sequel on the PlayStation 5. John, you played the PlayStation 5 version of Miles Morales, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. If you just haven't joined us in this podcast before, John's a bit bitter that he hasn't had a PlayStation 5. I've owned two. I've owned two PlayStation 5s so far. Just to rub in a bit further.
I could have bought one. I'm waiting until next year when they bring out the hard drive improvement.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. But yeah, I got a PlayStation 5 on release day, and the first game I got was Miles Morales, and it is just amazing. I got the Spider-Man remastered with it as well, and I replayed both to platinum. I did everything on those games. They were absolutely amazing. And again, there was a lot of work with Marvel in this version. Marvel kind of went, right, we're working with you on this one because Sony don't own the rights to Spider-Man in game form, which is really interesting. They own the rights to Spider-Man movie, but they don't actually own the rights to Spider-Man for game.
I think it extends out to the merchandise as well. Like, I think it's only the movies. I think merchandise and game related stuff on other medium platforms, they Marvel owns the rights. Marvel
own the rights. There's some interesting contracts, and I'm seriously surprised Marvel have not tried to buy the rights of Spider-Man back. They've probably got the money, and Sony know they've got the money, so it's too lucrative for them not to work with Marvel. But game-wise, those Spider-Man games were just absolutely amazing. Did you play the Insomniac Spider-Man, though?
I played both of them. The Peter Parker, the story was just it was perfect. The gameplay was perfect. I've not enjoyed a game like that since Arkham City. Batman Arkham City. It took all the great things from other games and its predecessors and just boom, it's fantastic. Miles one, it felt more like a DLC, but again, I still enjoyed it. The story, everything was good about it.
Yeah, and I'll absolutely adore it. I'll probably end up playing it again, but it just nailed it storyline-wise. I think Miles Morales, it was a brilliant reduction to the character for a lot of people who probably don't know who Miles Morales is, other than obviously Into the Spider-Verse, and I'd love to see a live-action version of Miles. It is strongly hinted that we will see a link to Miles in No Way From Home, because it is hinted that it's his mother that we see in the trailer, which is interesting. And talking about Marvel games, we have to talk about a current game that has just released an expansion based on Wakanda, and I haven't played this yet, and I've got to be honest, I put off playing this based on reviews, and it was Marvel's Avengers by Square Enix, and I've heard very mixed things about this game. and I've kind of held out on getting it. I've heard the Wakanda expansion is absolutely brilliant and an improvement on the game, but there was a lot of hype for this game, and I don't know if it's because people were expecting it to basically be the movies, playable, yet the characters are totally different in looks and voice, and I think that might have put a few people off, but I've heard the gameplay wasn't brilliant. Have you played this at all, John?
I played it, I completed it, and so my critiques is not some certain character designs like Iron Man's. I hate the helmet; it bugged me. Cap shield bugged me. I didn't mind that it wasn't based on the sort of the MCU. I would have preferred them to go more comic based and take some of the art illustrations there. The voice casting just didn't feel right. I mean, if you want to appeal to people, get people that sound like people they're familiar with, or like there's a great voice actor set that if you watch the Marvel's Avengers series, cartoon series that were released only a few years ago, it's on Disney Plus, by the way. Listen to the voice cast that voice of Tony, Steve, all of them. They're actually really good voice actors. They could have used probably, which would have been a lot cheaper than maybe Troy Baker, for example. That didn't feel right. The story wasn't. The story wasn't too bad. I can't criticize the story too much, but the games, the level system was terrible. Like it was just rinse repeat, rinse repeat. It felt nothing dynamic. Which obviously, when you come from a big high of having Spider-Man for it, and then this just went wob. It felt like it was way too rushed. It was building up this hype using just the name alone and hoping the rest of it would go. I think, yeah, for me personally, it was a complete miss, a swing and a miss.
Yeah, which is a shame. I may try it out at some point, but it's not high on my list. But to finish off talking about the future of Marvel games, there has been one which has grabbed my attention from publishers 2K, and it was just announced at Gamescom a few days ago, and it is Marvel's Midnight Suns. This is going to be an RPG tactical based game. They haven't released any gameplay yet. They released the trailer, which looked amazing. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the trailer that I sent you earlier, John, but this game is looking very interesting story-wise. Basically, you will have your own character that you can design, and you can choose their elements, their powers, and the way they look and everything like that. And then you interact with the other characters and influence the story that way. And we will be getting our first gameplay of this, which will be on September the 1st, which is Wednesday, at 7:30 p.m. BST, I think it was. Or was that PT? But the gameplay footage will be revealed on Wednesday, and I'm really, really excited to see what this is. Now, it is made by the same company that made XCOM, which is a tactical-based game. I don't think this is going to be very similar to the style of the Square Enix game. It's going to be more tactical in how you develop the character that way. But yeah, what do you think of this? What do you think of the looks? And it's telling a story that hasn't been told before. It focuses more on demons.
So for me, it's very. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about some of the articles I read about it.
Go for it.
Yeah, so you play as a character named as Hunter. Whether or not he'll get a different name, it's altogether who knows. But it's named as Hunter, and you can choose the gender, choose the powers, choose the sort of. You can create this new character essentially that fits within this universe, and they tease some of the characters. Like I'm looking at the screen right now. Characters design. Look at Iron Man there. Looks so much. It looks perfect. It looks amazing. I like Ghost Rider. I've done brought Ghost Rider and people like Blading. Characters that people are not necessarily familiar with on the modern age there. Wolverine looks really great there. So there's a good amalgamation of characters. I know there's apparently Captain America in there as well. So there's new characters, old characters, maybe to some of the fans there.
There's going to be a total of 12 characters. They've revealed 5, and they'll be revealing more on Wednesday and then before release. Sorry to interrupt there, but I just thought I'd jump in with that.
No. The idea of it reminds me a bit of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, So years ago, they brought out this RPG. It not necessarily like strategic in the sense of you click, turn based. It was more like freedom running, but it was very RPG based. You build your characters up and you use different scenarios, and that was really enjoyable. So I've been looking for something like this for a long time, either from DC or Marvel, and now it's turn based. I'm a big RPG player. I like D&D quite a lot, so this really speaks out to me, and I love strategy games. So what is better? It's just an amalgamation of things I really enjoy. So and having this with a fresh storyline that goes more the sort of elemental magic side as opposed to just smash, smash, smash sort of thing. It'll be really intriguing. The trailer itself has blew me away more than the Square Enix Marvel one ever did.
I am looking forward to this one. Hopefully we'll have more information as it comes out. I'll pull a few strings at 2K because I know a few people across there to see if we can get a bit more information at different times. Maybe even get some sort of preview, which would be amazing. I love the people at 2K. But yeah, that is our hit misses and the future of Marvel. And it's going to be very busy for Marvel going forward. And that brings us up to pretty much the hour. We've timed it perfect. I know, John, you're about in 15 minutes to go do some Twitch streaming as well. If anyone wants to find you on social media or Twitch, where can they find you? Even though I'm going to put it on screen as well.
It's Multiverse Geekman for most things. Like my Twitter now is Multiverse G-Man, just because I couldn't fit all the characters in. But yeah, by all means, follow me on there.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. And obviously, thank you to everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. You can find me personally as CJ the Geek on everything. No shortened versions, just everything is CJ the Geek. But obviously, of course, make sure to follow SpoilerTV for all of the latest news, previews. We put all of the TV promos on our YouTube channel, which is also SpoilerTV. Thank you for watching. Hope you all had a great weekend. And if you're watching this on replay, why weren't you watching live? Check every Sunday. We will be streaming roughly at 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday British Standard Time. Usually 7:30 tonight, but it's usually around the 6:30 mark. But please check either my Twitter or Spoiler TV's Twitters for the latest information. Thank you for watching, and we will see all of you guys again soon. And so from me and John, bye bye.